let's have a look at the idea of you can have it all. Over a period of time, you can obtain it all if you want. One of the things that I see quite often out there is that we can be extremely talented in one area, so we can get a huge heap of results in one area at the detriment of others. Who's seen that? So spend all your time and energy in one area, and that's cause effects in others. So we don't believe that needs to happen, okay? So we're going to have a look at why that does. But if I said you could have it all in life, what are some of the things, and I'll get you to stick your hand in the air to answer these questions, and what are some of the things that you'd like to see happen in your life if you could click your fingers like that? What are some of the things, if you could click your fingers and they could come true, what areas of your life would you like to see improve, go better, or get some results in? Yep.
Can you hear
Hi,
that?
Emily.
Can you hear it yet? Yeah.
Yeah.
Financial and creative freedom, if I could click my fingers.
Yep, yep, sounds good. Somebody else?
Hi, I'm Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
Health.
Health, yeah. So anybody else like to have a bit more energy, get in shape, fitter, kind of thing? Yep.
Hi, I'm Jana.
Hi, Jana.
It's more family interaction and communication.
Yep, so more of a family-orientated goal. That's great. More time, better relationships. Yep. Somebody else? I saw a hand go up. Yep.
Hi guys, I'm Brett.
Hi, Brett.
How are we? Just in relationships,
Yeah.
whether it be with a partner or friends, family.
Is that important to anybody
business.
else? Anybody got relationships I'd like to improve and just work on? Yep. So there's a few. That's pretty important. Yeah. If you're anybody single and looking for a partner, yeah. Right, Eamon, we'll have to do a line-up at the front here. You just find you each other on the break and you know who knows what will happen. All right, that's great. Somebody else?
Hi, I'm Margarita.
Hi, Margarita.
I'd like abundant passive income.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Yeah. Yep.
Hi, I'm Noni.
Hi, Noni.
Emotional and total happiness and well-being.
Yep, so emotional well-being, yep, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Max.
Hi, Max.
I just like to overcome creative block.
Yep, it's a creative block, yep. So here are some of the topics that in my line of work and the work that we do come up quite predominantly. So the health, wealth, happiness and relationships, and we could just call them the top four. You know, of course there's many other areas that you may want to invest in, but these are the top four we predominantly find. So a couple of things for this session. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to look at why learning to be relaxed when there's every reason not to be will be one of the most profound skills that you can learn to get the results you want in life. Now, that'll become pretty clear and obvious when we get to the end of this workshop. So we're going to have a practical go at learning how to be relaxed when there's every reason not to be. Now, if I said you could learn to be relaxed, click your finger, you can go from being tense to relaxed in under 10 seconds. Would that be of value? Yeah. So I've worked with a lot of athletes, being an athlete myself. That's just one of the main skills they need to learn, because when there's a pressure point on, no good being tense, so all the stuff that they've trained into their body, they can just lose. And we call it, is it choking? Have you heard that term? So they choke under big points. So at training, no, not a problem. Under pressure, boom. So vital skill to learn. Learn while you're subconscious, will determine the achievements you get in your life. So we're going to take a look at that. And then next is what to do. So it's good to understand that, but like I said, we want to look at some practical tools to help you move forward. Before we do that, I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about who I am and why you listen to me and why am I up the front. Is that cool? All right, so that was me about 9 years ago. So I weighed 154 kilos. Who's find that hard to believe? No? Okay, good. That's great, because, you know, like, funny enough, pretty much my whole life I wasn't overweight. And so it can happen. It can happen to anybody. If you said to me at 15, 16, 17, 18, you're going to be overweight one day, I would have laughed, because I'd been pretty thin my whole life. But things can change, can't they? And so they can change on such a small scale that you don't notice them on a daily event. But over a course of years, they can add up, and I can end up like that. So pretty staggering. So I went from 154 kilos to 98 kilos in a matter of 6 months, and I'll explain how I did that in a few moments, and won an Australian bodybuilding title along the way. Now, you may not want to do that, but would you want to know how I did it? The mindset part of it, yeah. Yeah, the skills. Failed high school. My favourite subject at school was lunch and playtime. Anybody else relate to that? It was fantastic. It wasn't an effort. And so I had some core beliefs that were set from a pretty young age that school wasn't really for me. And I found myself trying to bluff my way through school, like pretend that I knew what I was doing. Can anybody relate to that? And I was hoping nobody else would find out when I made the decision about myself is that I wasn't that smart. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah, cool. I'm glad I'm not alone. So, by learning what I learned, the techniques I now teach, I understood that my previous track record doesn't have to equal what the things I do today. And that's pretty important. So it had nothing to do with the level of success I achieve. Found and married my soulmate. Now, out of everything else, this is the thing I cherish the most because it was the thing that I probably messed up the most. Okay, so I could find myself in a relationship. That was no drama. But I also seemed to be pretty talented to get myself out of a relationship as well. Can anybody relate to that? A couple of you, thanks for that. It's my self-image I'm mucking around with. And so that was really important to me, not just on a partner level, but friendships as well. So I really value the friendships in my life, and they mean a hell of a lot. So if all the rest of it was to go, I'd be happy that my relationships are running at the level I'd like them to. Went from earning under $20,000 a year to $250,000 a year in 12 months. Would you want to know how I did that? All right, and that's gone further than that now, but maybe you don't want to limit yourself to that. Maybe you want to go higher, whatever. It's not really important, the figure. It's probably more about where you are now, where you want to get to for you personally. So, how I did it. Because people say to me, that's great, but how did you do it? What did you do? What did you invest your time in? All the rest of it to get to where you were, to where you are now. Well, the first thing I did was I looked at my weight and I thought I really got to do something with this. You know, at 154 kilos at about age 23, that's probably not the most healthy state to be in. And so I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll get myself in shape. That'll start helping my energy levels, my self-esteem, etc. So what I went out and found a coach, but you'd be more familiar with the term personal trainer. Everyone heard of personal trainer? So I thought, why try to do the hard yards by myself? Why not go and get someone who's an expert in the field? I really knew I needed accountability, and I needed somebody with a bit of knowledge to what I wanted to do to help accelerate my results. Now, who knows that you could quite easily sleep in and not go to the gym the next day when you said you would. Yeah, but I knew that a bit about myself, so I thought if I get a trainer, then I know I need to turn up because I've got a commitment financially, but also I don't want to let that person down either. So did that. Was able to get myself into shape, and that was fantastic. Got myself in shape, won the Australian title, but that wasn't really the goal. The goal was just to get back in shape. And have you ever set a goal or a target, and as you've gone along, it's changed? So my first thing was just to get back into regular exercise, get into some kind of shape, and then it progressed. I raised the bar higher and higher. Did that, realised that while that was great and I won the title, that feeling of winning the title lasted for about a minute. And then the feeling was gone. So I won the title, now what? What I realised, I was still the same bloke. I was still the same bloke with the Australian title. And I actually felt quite empty because I hadn't changed inside, I'd changed my physical appearance. So I thought, well, what do I need to do now in order to make sure I don't slip back? Because who's ever lost a bit of weight or made a bit of money and then fallen backwards? Yep, so I was aware of that by this stage, and I thought I want to get in front of that and make sure it doesn't happen again. So a friend recommended to me that I get a coach for your life. And I said, what the hell is a coach for your life? And they said, well, like a personal trainer, what they do is help you keep accountable, help you design where you want to go so you don't get lost along the way. And at first I thought, well, do I really need this person? I was a bit stubborn and my ego was getting in the way, thinking, oh, I could probably do this on my own. And I had a kind enough friend say to me, well, if you could do it on your own, mate, don't you think you'd be earning more than 20 grand a year? And I said, you bastard. Don't you hate it when someone points out the painful truth to you? But they were right, and I'm glad they did. And so that person they recommended was actually Paul down the back of the room. So we met about 7 years ago, and I've been doing a fair bit of this work anyway. But he said, look, this guy's who you need to see. And I didn't know Paul from Bar of Soap at that stage. And I said, where's this guy live? Because I'm in Brisbane. He said, Canberra. And I said, that's a bit of a distance for me to travel. He better be good. And he said, well, are you interested in the results or interested in being in the same area? I said, I'm just after the results, of course. And he said, well, you don't have to travel down to Canberra. You can do it over the phone and all the rest of it. Duh. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll go and meet this guy. And he said, luckily enough, he's down the Gold Coast on holidays at the moment for another day. Now, without knowing this guy, without knowing anything about him, something just felt right for me to go and meet him. Has anybody else had that experience where you just knew that what you needed to do felt right, but you don't know why you're doing it? So I went on a feeling rather than knowledge about Paul. Took the opportunity because remember I said opportunities come and they go. So I thought I need to do what I would never not normally do, because normally I'd just fog it off and say, oh, I'll find somebody else. Went down, met Paul, loved how what he had to say, loved the systems of Beyond Success for coaching. It all fitted well for me. Started on that process. Pretty much within 6 months, I noticed profound differences in my self-confidence, my self-worth, my relationships, and then all the other things started to come along with that. Because I'm a Northie, and you'll hear about the personality types in the next session. You've all filled their personality profile out? Yep, you'll hear about a Northie. I wanted more. So I thought, well, if I'm getting this from this level of coaching, how can I accelerate and go faster? Paul said to me, well, what you could do is do what we call our advanced boot camps. They're emotionally intelligence boot camps, and they're designed to break through blockages. He called them blockage busting. And I thought, well, is that when you're constipated or something? And he said, no, it's where we look at your emotional scars from a young age through the journey of your life that trip you up, and how we remove them so you can actually move forward with ease and grace. And I said, well, that sounds like me. So I did those boot camps. There was 4 boot camps throughout the year, invested my time and had to fly in a camera to do that, and it was the greatest thing I've ever done. From that period to now, I'm a partner in the business. So 7 years ago, starting from there to now here, doing what I love, teaching other people. I've taught thousands of people around the country and being a partner in the business. Did I know that was going to happen when I first met them? No, I just wanted to sort myself out. But you never know what will happen when you move forward. So that's a little bit about me. And I want to share that with you so you know who you're talking to. And I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Now, do you want to see what it looks like to go from 154 kilos to 98 kilos? You ready? Yeah, thank you. That's the only reason I do it, thank you. That's why. But the problem is it's only guys that ever do it. All right, so here's the after. People often say, is that really you? And you just have to look at the nose and the profile. There's no missing or confusing that. So that's what I went to. But, you know, you don't have to go to that level, do you? You could, if you just want to lose a few kilos. The real question here is, have I been able to maintain these areas? And the short answer is yes. I haven't put back the weight, haven't gone backwards in my relationships, haven't gone backwards in money, all those areas that were important to me. So the real key is that's proof to me that what I do in terms of my training, that I now train others, works. And that's what you want to look at. Not just doing it, then going back. Not doing it, going back. Does that make sense? So that's my way of saying I walk my talk in some description. All right, but let's get into it. So if I said that circle represented your mind, and in that, is that too big? Some days for me, that's way too big. And if I said there was in there 200 billion brain cells, that would sound like a lot, wouldn't it? And if I said if you spent one of those brain cells and each one of them were worth $1, and you spent one for every second of every hour, for every week, all throughout the whole year, for the rest of your life, any guesses on how long it'd take you to spend all that? About 12 months? That's accelerated. The correct answer is, it's not the correct answer, but it's around 6,000 something years. Now, do any of you feel like your brain's not quite churning along at that level? Show hands. Yep. It will operate on 3 different levels, though, and you may be familiar with them as soon as I put a name to them. But does anybody know the 3 levels? I'm just asking because I don't know. I'm only kidding. Conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Okay, so 3 different levels they operate. Now let's have a look at those 3 levels. The top region we say operates in terms of words. So using 10% of that total 200 billion brain cells. Now that's quite a lot when you think about it in terms of horsepower. Or if you think in dollar terms, if you were to win 10% of $200 billion, would that be okay? Yeah, it'd be okay. I'd even share some of that with you. So it'd be huge. It operates in terms of words. So are you familiar that you talk to yourself? So no? You even answer yourself. That's great. Anybody got more than one conversation running in there? Oh boy. All right, so that's how that operates in terms of words. If we move down to the middle region, we'll say that that's just in your subconscious. You have things such as sleep taking place in that region. Now, are you familiar that when you go to sleep, your mind can still be active? Yeah, and you can maybe wake up because you've been so tired and wonder how you got there. Who's done that? Who's woken up and thought, who's that next to me? Well, that's alcohol. So it's totally different. So sleep's in there. Also in here is creativity. Now, by creativity, I'm not referring to how good you are at painting or art or any of the, those type of areas. It's more about your problem-solving ability. So your ability to solve a problem. Maybe it's to go camping or something like that and put a tent up so all the poles match and you can actually sleep in it without getting rained on. So your problem-solving ability. Also in there is intuition. And if we look at intuition, then we have some examples of those. We'd say that a classic is thinking about a friend, family member, or somebody that you know, you haven't seen for quite some time. You've been thinking about them, and all of a sudden they ring you, or you run into them down the shops and you say, "Speak of the devil, I was just thinking about you." So that's a classic example. Meeting somebody for the first time and you just gel with them, you just get a really good vibe or sense about that person, and for whatever reason, you just trust them. And you may have had the opposite experience of that, where you've met somebody and you're thinking, I'm not too sure if I'm kind of buying what they're saying, or just something that doesn't feel right. Who's had that? Yeah, so classic thing. You know, the old driving your car down the highway and getting the urge just to slow down. And you're glad you did because the police booking people up the road for speeding. Anybody experience that? Anybody hadn't? I got one of those nice pictures in the mail the other day that you don't want. You know, it's worth about $130. So I haven't mastered that one yet. So that's intuition. Also in here is memory. And we probably don't need to spend a lot of time on memory itself, but what do you forget the most, you think? Your kids? They're out in the car still? So what do you think we forget the most? Probably people's names. So memory blanks, the things we're looking at here. So probably people will forget people's names. And so have you ever been out to a function, dinner party, or maybe it's just anywhere like here, and you've been introduced to somebody, and then a couple of minutes later you're actually not too sure who you're talking to? Yep. And so we're not too concerned about that. We all know we do it, so it's not that embarrassing. And you know, people just tell you their name if you ask it again. Away we go. The real thing is that we get a bit frustrated with the things we know we shouldn't forget. And so have you ever been at home and you've had an idea to do something, you've gone to another room in your house with the intentions of grabbing something, only to get there and you're actually wondering what you went there for? So you kind of left there sounding like, now what did... And it doesn't fill you full of confidence for the day, does it? No. Just a quick survey, those of you who got kids? Oh, big percentage, yep. So you got more than 2, stick your hand up, more than 3, 4, 5? Did my voice break then? 5? Yeah, do that. I'm about to have my first next year, my wife's due. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to some, thank you, any tips that you've got. Run? Thanks a lot. So, what was I talking about? So those who got kids, memory, yeah, memory, that's right. So those who got kids, have you ever looked at one of your kids and firstly thought, what is your name, but then secondly gone, called it by the one's name? Who's had that? Yep. So anybody call it by the dog's or cat's name? Because, yeah, it's a couple, so you always get a couple. What a way to feel loved, huh? And because, you know, the thing is that that's final proof for them that you've lost it, you know that. Because they're sitting there thinking, you know what, this person gave me this name, and they can't even remember it. So mum and dad have actually lost it, big time. So we get a bit frustrated with the things we know we shouldn't forget. On the other side of memory blank is photographic memory. So who's had a bit of photographic memory pop in their head, and it may have been triggered, the memory, by a song or a movie. So you're driving your car down the street, you hear a song from years ago, and all of a sudden you're back at that event, maybe it's a party, social event, sporting event, whatever, and you're back there and you can feel the tingles, the sensations if it was that good of a time, smells, taste, the whole lot. Now, if it was an embarrassing situation for you, then you can be doing anything else, washing the car, driving down the street, whatever, and you can be reliving that, and you can go get all the embarrassing signals and signs for your body 10 years later. Who's experienced that? Yeah. You know, I spent a lot of time up the headmaster's office at school, so if I ever see a big stick, where's the big stick, lady? I'm straight back there with a cane, so not a good one for me. So that's a bit about the subconscious region. And what we look at next is the unconscious region. And if you're only operating in that level, that you'd be in a coma. So we don't need to know a lot about that region, other than say that you wouldn't be operating too well if you're in that region. You may know some people who operate in that level. They're doing the best they can, but so let's not pick on them. What we do know is if we have a bit of experience and we get a bit of knowledge in the subconscious and conscious, then it can give us a bit of insight and breakthrough as to how we perform and how we act and how we get the best out of ourselves. So if we look at how the brain or the mind operates, it's true to say it runs on electricity. And it's a collecting of nerve-ending cells, and you can speed your brain up and slow it down if you know where to look. So I'm looking for an actual word here. What do you need to do in order to go to sleep of a night time? Relax. Yep. So yeah, lay down and relax. And if we went around the room and asked everybody how you do that, then you'd all have your different experiences of that. So maybe you read a book, maybe you go for a walk, watch TV. It doesn't really matter. You'll have your own version of that. The real question is, how do you wake yourself up on time the next day? Alarm clock, yeah. I asked all the tough questions. Tell yourself, yeah. And so, alarm clock, and what's the job of the alarm clock? To wake you up, it's to stop you relaxing. So, what we know is, by the way, who can go from being a really beautiful dream, this is just an awesome dream, that alarm goes off, and you've hit the ceiling. Who's that? And have you ever tried to get back into the dream? Isn't that a pain? No matter how hard you try, you just can't get back there. You go, all I needed was another 5 minutes. I'm just not going to get it. So what we know is that we can go, we're exceptionally talented at being really relaxed to getting really, really tense and instant. Especially as adults. As adults, we seem to be able to do that way very, very effectively. From tense to relax, maybe not so well. Maybe that's the one we struggle a bit more. But to go from relaxed to tense, boom, we can do it in an instant. Isn't that true? Yeah, well, it's true for me. So if we look at the reasons why that is, why do you believe that that takes place? But before we can do that, someone mentioned that you just tell yourself, who can wake themselves up on time the next day just by saying they can? Yeah, so about half the room. So when we do those surveys, about 50% of the population can just wake themselves up on time by saying that they need to. So 200 billion brain cells, and within all those brain cells, there's an alarm clock. Pretty impressive. You didn't even know it was there. So the scientists are looking for it. They can't find it, but about 50% of the population just say, oh, I can do that. I can wake myself up on time. Now, it may not sound like a big deal, but there is some quite powerful beautiness behind this, and that is that just by instructing your mind to behave in a certain way, it will record that message, it will listen to what you're saying and give you the result. And who wakes up like a minute before the alarm clock? So it's very, very accurate. You can wake up. I did it this morning. 1 minute before the alarm went off, I woke up. Okay, so pretty powerful stuff. The only downside is that we don't use this method to get other things in our life. We don't instruct ourselves to get the things we want. And when we look at that, you have to think about, why does the average adult spend so much time in the conscious region? Because that green line illustrates where 95% of the time is spent for an adult. Why do you think we spend a lot of time up in there? We'll just get the mics. So why do we spend so much time in that top 10 region? Because you're awake? Yep.
Because it's comfortable for others.
Comfortable for others? So what do you mean?
It's comfortable for yourself, yeah. You're complacent.
So you get used to being up there?
That's right.
Yep.
Because it's what we're trained to do.
What we're trained to do? Yep. Who's busy during the day? Who's busy? Yep. So who's got jobs to go to? Bills to pay? Kids to look after? There's a lot going on in the background. There's a lot of background tension, so this can become quite normal. This can be a normal feeling for us. I'll get everyone just to stand up for a sec. So everyone just stand up, put your books down. Just want to turn to your right, so we're going to be facing this way. Just want you to massage the person in front of you. Apart from feeling really good, there's a reason why I should do that, and that is that who actually realised, oh, that tight? Who was tight in that region? Yeah, so a lot of tension gets held here. And you only have to walk up to the average Australian and start doing that, and we go, oh. But we switch off to that. We go numb to the tension. We go numb to it, and we just put up with it. So that's one of the classic illustrations about how much tension we hold in our bodies. So kids are really good at the other stuff. The stuff in the subconscious, memory, creativity, going to sleep. Some of those things are really good because they're not exposed yet to all the background tension that we put up with as adults. And if you think about that, when was your very first thought for the day? When did you have your very first thought? As soon as you woke up? Yep, so we don't even give ourselves 5 minutes just to enjoy the wake up. We're already starting thinking. And when will your very last thought be? When you go to sleep. Could you take those thoughts with you to bed and just keep going with them? Yeah, so they could just keep going on and on and on and on and on. And although I had a guy in a workshop say to me once his last thought was just after lunchtime. I said, please teach me how you do that. Could you imagine that going, well, 12 o'clock, it's time. Away you go. No, it's just like, he's finished for the day. Let's give you an example of how this whole thing works. If we were to take you all to a different state in Australia, one you'd never visited before, gave you a map, give you some directions, using that, that information, you could get yourself in the correct location, and you're talking to yourself about, you're walking up and down this massively long street, and you're talking to yourself about why don't they put numbers on the building so I can actually tell if I'm going in the right direction or not, because I'm running late for a meeting. And at that point, you just look up, you have a glance, and you see a person that looks familiar. The face is pretty familiar, but unfortunately at that stage you've got no idea what their name is. Have you noticed that what do you start talking to yourself about? When you see a person towards you, what's the conversation you start having with yourself? What do you start saying? Who is that? Where do I know them from? And I don't know about you, but what I get is if I'm walking towards them and I've seen them and I'll go, who are they? What do I know? And you better tell me quick. Because as I get closer, the tensions of the chance of being embarrassed and not knowing this person's name's getting heightened, so the conversation in my head accelerates. So you better tell me quick. Now, if you're a bit onto it, if you act quick, you can probably bolt across the street, duck into a shop, maybe read a newspaper, so you don't have to go through the embarrassing situation. If you don't, then they're going to see you at some point. They're going to look up. They're going to yell your name out from 300 metres away. It's obvious that they know everything about you. You can't even remember where you met them. So under the threat of being embarrassed, are you going to become more and more relaxed or more and more tense at this point? Yeah, once again, a very hard question. You're going to become more and more tense. That is, of course, unless you're the type of person who goes, beauty, here's another opportunity to be embarrassed today. You're going to become more and more tense. So I don't know what women do, but men call each other mate. So if you're having a conversation with somebody, they're calling you mate, you've got no idea who they're talking to. If you're engaged or married to them, that's probably an issue. But anyway, you have your conversation, you'll go your separate ways. What do you think will happen anywhere from 5 to an hour to 3 days later, do you think? And why is that? Because you're relaxed. So during that whole process, we've actually gone further up on that green line. So we've gone up further, so you're less likely to get their name. Because what lived in this region here, in the subconscious? Memory. So you can see how much further away you've gone from it. Funny enough, if you learn to relax, when you do relax, then their name will become apparent to you. But it won't just say, hey, it was Peter or John or Mary, whatever. It'll wait till you get triggered. And it could be something totally unrelatable. Maybe it's a song that just has a word and it just triggers their name. You go, oh, Mary, that was her name. And away you'll go. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to do it just in an instant, instead of having to wait for a song or 3 days later for that to happen? I can remember being this same thing. I can remember having a really stressful day years ago before I knew any of this material, and I've gone shopping, and I've done all my shopping, and I'm in the line, but I'm still stressing about the stuff that's happening for the day. Has anybody had that? So I'm not really present at all. I get there, and it's now time to pay for my groceries, and by the way, I've got about 2 weeks' worth. So they're stacked up. You know where this is going, don't you? And she goes, I need you to put your PIN number in. Of course, I can't remember it. I've been there? Yeah. And I'm putting my PIN number in and it hasn't worked. But I was pretty sure at that time I knew it didn't work. And then I've gone, oh, bummer. And I'm stressing big time, as you are, because there's also like a line full of people, of course, when this is going to happen. And I've gone again, I can't remember, 3 strikes, you're out. So very embarrassing. I had to leave all my shopping there and go away. And as I'm driving home, I remembered it. So this thing can happen at the worst times, can't it? I never shop there again, by the way, or anywhere in that suburb. So we can look at some other examples of these things. So you think about going for a job interview, or someone you know is going for a job interview, and at home you've been talking about how well you want to present yourself. You don't want to go in there and be confident, I'm gonna really present well, and then get there and just lock up. Has anybody seen that happen to somebody or personally? Yep, and then you leave and you go, I just didn't present myself the way I wanted to. And then you're going home kicking yourself about, why didn't I say that? Why did I say this? Blah, blah, blah. Think about an exam. Have you ever gone and studied up for an exam at home, and at home you could just pretty much nail all the questions, walk into the exam and wonder whose brain you walked in with? Because it's just like the answers have gone somewhere. You don't know where they've left you, but they've left you. Think about the last argument you're in. Did you become more and more relaxed or more and more tense at that time? Ever notice that your best line comes anywhere from 3 hours to 2 days later? You're a genius at that point, aren't you? And you're sitting there going, I know what I should have said to that mongrel. It's too late. But anybody had the urge to ring him up and go again? You done it? Yeah. You're there and you're going, by the way, mate, just thought of something. But the real thing is, if they're, I recommend you hold off on that one, because if they're even 3 minutes ahead of you in the scale, they've probably thought of about 50 things they wanted to line you up with, and you'll only have your one. So just leave it for next time, all right? And I've had a go at that pretty much my whole life. Leave that one alone. So does that all make sense? Now, if we change subjects and we go, well, how does this affect us physically? We can look at sport, because sport's a beautiful illustration of how the tense in your mind can affect your performance. And if I was to come out the front here, drill a hole in the ground, give you 100 golf balls, and go from this distance away, start putting them in, do you reckon you can get good at it? We're talking like a foot. Can you get good at it? Yeah, it's not far. We leave it to your own devices and we go, look, you do that, we'll go away. We come back after an hour or so later and we say, look, how are you going with that? Are you getting them in? And they go, of course, it's only that far away, it's pretty easy. And you go, okay, good, I notice you've got 1 ball left. Here's what I'll do. I'm a nice guy. I'm going to give you 10 million bucks if you get that last ball in. Who's going to start feeling a bit of pressure? Who would just bend the club? You'd be scribbling that tight. So now all of a sudden, something that was easy has now got a whole heap of pressure on it. It's changed the circumstances. What was simple, what was done pretty easy, is now high-pressured shot. So what we're getting at is, if you can learn to be relaxed, when there's every reason not to be, that's really the key. And that's the first thing we're going to do today, is teach you how to be relaxed in 30 seconds or less under pressure. Now, some people learn this skill by accident, or by training, I should say. So paramedics, they get trained how to do what they need to do to save someone's life under pretty ordinary circumstances. So they need to turn up to a scene of an accident, and they need to do what's been trained in themselves to save people's lives. Now, would you want to be that person who needs their help? They turn up and go, oh, I don't know about this one, you're on your own. Who'd want to be in that category? No, you wouldn't. So I've spoken to paramedics, and what they say to me is that afterwards they could be physically ill, but during that process they can be relaxed enough to do what's been trained into them to save someone's life. Pilots are the other ones. They put pilots in those simulators because they want to make sure they can go all right under pressure. They can make they'll make the wings fall off, the engines fail, the whole bit, because they want to see how they're going to act under that circumstances. Now, when everything's going great, hey, sure, they're cool, but how are they going to go when the pressure's on? Now, once again, would you want to be in the plane and you have the pilot screaming down the back of it, we're all going to die, only to have the co-pilot say, it's just your iPod flashing, mate, the battery's low. You want to hope he's a little bit more relaxed than that under pressure. And I mean, there was a pilot long ago in the States. Where did he land? Was it Hudson River? Yeah, like, I mean, wouldn't you want to be thanking that guy? You know, he could keep it together to land that plane. Pretty amazing. So once you learn how to do this, and it's not hard, who'd be willing to invest 15 minutes a day to master this skill set? Yeah, cool. We're in the right room to do that. Once you do that, then it opens up a whole new range of possibilities. So once you get to be relaxed under pressure, then you can get back into the subconscious, where all those memory, intuition live, and you can look at the things that run you automatically. So programs are things that give you an automatic result without consciously thinking about it. And there are 60,000 of these things running around inside of you, thereabouts. Okay, you could argue the amount of them. And predominantly set up from a very young age. So if we take a look at some programming, then we could look at walking. I can walk from one side of the room to the other, and I can still have a conversation with you because I pretty much figured out walking. I've got that down pat. I know what you're thinking, lucky enough, because you're 35, so it's probably a good thing you can walk. Now, if you do see someone walking down the street going left, right, left, right, left, right, you probably don't want to interrupt them because they're busy. Some people could be slow learners, so let's just give them a break. So that's the idea of a program. You think about driving. So who can remember their very first driving lesson? Yeah, did you have to think your way through it when you were doing it? Did you have to think your way through it? Yeah, push the clutch in, change gears, don't change lanes till you actually mean it. And say it out loud. Yeah, push the clutch in. And if you're ever learning how to drive a car and you had an impatient parent like I did, then I'll tell you what, it's even harder, you know. So they're the things. But what can you do now while driving a car? Sleep. Yeah, you probably only get to do that once. So what can you do while driving a car now? Look up a map, phone, sing. The whole lot. There's a whole heap of stuff, you know. It's incredible what you can do. By the way, whose car knows the way home? There's not a neat trick. You're kind of going home from work and you go, oh, I'm here. Look at that. So we can say our car knows the way home. Well, you've done it so many times, it's become an automatic program. And you can be thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner tonight, what you have to do with the kids, a whole range of things while driving the car on autopilot. Bit scary, but you can do it. Away we go. Brushing your teeth, another example of a program. So, you know, who noticed you've got your own little way to brush your teeth? You will now if you haven't. You'll be going, what was he talking about? Oh, there it is. And if you can't do that one tooth, if you miss one tooth, you just don't do the one. You've got to do the whole racetrack thing again. Now, it's not really important that's what you do. It's probably more important that you clean your teeth, I guess, but that's just your way of doing it. So do you want to see one of these programs in action? Do you want to see one of these programs in action? Yeah. Oh, that's better. Okay, so you need to put your pens and all that stuff down, paper. All right, so what I'll get you to do firstly is just stand up for me. Oh, that's better. All right, now sit down again. Now stand up. And sit down. No, it's okay. That's called exercise. I'll get you to stand up. I will get everyone to stand up. All right, now just go over to your left. So just wander over to your left. So just walk over to your left. Yeah, going to walk over. Now turn back, walk to your right. Now sit back down in your chair. Now, did you have to think about doing any of that? I had to think about it because I'm going your left, my right. But it was pretty easy. Yeah, okay, pretty easy to do. So you know how to get up, you know how to sit down, all that stuff's easy. Now, another one. Just put your hands in your laps for me. All right, now just fold your hands over. All right, now fold them, put them back down. Now fold them the other way. All right, so you better put them down. So what happened the first time? Automatic. And the second time, what happened? Did anybody talk to him? What are you doing? Tell you what, go under. All right, last one. So just hands out in front. This is a pretty easy one. Okay, so just cross them over, thumbs pointing down. So I just need your thumbs pointing down. Okay, now just wiggle your little finger. Now your middle finger. And now just turn them back up. It's $100 to get them unstuck. All right, so programs is where it's at. And 60,000 of these things running around. We got anybody who's been a smoker, stopped? Yep, so we get the mics going here. Just want to get an idea. How many did you smoke when you smoked?
I smoked.
Hi, my name is?
Hi, I'm Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
I smoked, 13 years ago, there were the big packs.
Yeah, the
one
big
of
ones?
those a day. A pack a day.
Was that 60 or?
No, I think they were 25s or
25s.
30s.
Yep. All right, you can tell I don't know. Yep, somebody else. So 25.
Hi, my name's Annette.
Hi, Annette.
Started smoking when I was 10, got up to about
10, yep.
20 cigarettes a day, and I just quit like that.
Just quit like that, yep. So started at age 10, was it? Or with 10?
No, age 10.
Age 10, yep. So you would have been 7 foot tall if you... Sunshine Grace, you know? No, okay. So, yep, somebody else.
Hi.
Hi, Michael.
Hello. About, 3 or 4 rollies a day.
Yep.
As a student.
So just 3 or 4?
Yep.
You weren't really serious, were you?
No.
No, it's just sport, really.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Got anybody who was really committed to it? Who was really committed?
Hi, I'm Catherine. That's not why I'm speaking huskily now, but I smoked for 20 years, about 20 a day.
20 a day, yep. So for those of you who have stopped, congratulations. Well done, yeah. Really the point to illustrate is that pretty much most smokers will be able to tell you in an instant how many they smoke a day, so I don't have to think about it. It's an automatic thing as well. So 20 a day, 30 a day, whatever a day. Very rarely will you see somebody who has been a smoker as a smoker do this when you ask them how many they smoke, or during the course of the day going, hey, look at that. I'm behind schedule. If I want to make 30 a day, I better speed up. I'll just do that. And for those of you who have smoked and stopped, did you just stop and then go straight back to what you finished on? No, so that'll vary. A lot of times what will happen is people that stop, if they stop on 30 a day, they can go for a period where they don't smoke, and then a stressful event can happen or something can happen, and they can go straight back, and they'll go straight back to 30 a day. And maybe you can relate to that on other areas of your life. Who can? That you've stopped something for a while, and then when you've gone back, boom. Basically what happens is willpower happens at the conscious part of your brain. So willpower is the part that goes, I'm not going to smoke anymore, I'm not going to smoke anymore, and that's willpower. Unfortunately, it only uses 10% of your total brain capacity. But in that programming there is, I'm a smoker, and I smoke 60 a day, and that's been a program that's built, and that's a program that's strong within me. So I might be able to go without it for a while, but if something does happen and it triggers enough emotional stress and pressure in your life, then you can go back. And that's what we're about to embark on over the next 3 days, is how do you stop that from happening? How do you stop those old programmings from reoccurring? And when we look at it, primarily what happens in the subconscious region is 50 to 60% of your total brain capacity runs there. So that's a part of your brain that runs the show. So you've got 10%, which is willpower, saying, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to make money, up against 50 to 60% of your total brain capacity, which has the programs. And Paul mentioned one of them earlier in regards to money, and that is money doesn't grow on trees. So money's hard to get. So that will be a program that we need to locate and get out of that particular part of your mind, the subconscious, and put a new one in there. It's a bit like you're a computer. If you're a computer, you'd have an old program that's been running you from a young age, probably one that you didn't even want, but you got stuck with, and now it's your responsibility to erase that one and put a new one in. Does that make sense? All right. So some of the areas we were looking at was some of the areas you wanted breakthroughs in. So health was one. Now, do you know somebody who's pretty much always healthy, say 95% of the time? They don't get sick too often. You know someone like that? Yep. So if we went to a mum with 3 kids and said, I know she never gets sick, what would her response be? Don't have time to get sick. Now, if we went to someone who owned your own business, for an example, and said, how come you never get sick? Well, can't afford to. So apparently to get sick, you need to have time and money. So make sure you never get time and money, otherwise you're going to end up getting sick. Now, is that the truth? No. No, it's not the truth. What they're actually explaining to you is a program that they have. Okay, they're demonstrating that. So that's if we look at health. Now, if we look at, by the way, what happens sometimes to people that go on holidays? They get sick. Now, if you've been telling yourself that you don't have time to get sick and you get a bit of time, well, hello, you probably get what you wish for. So we need to be careful about our self-talk as well. So we still need to be careful of our self-talk. If we look at wealth, if I was to say to you, what do you think happens to most lottery winners? Do they hang on to the money? Are they rich for the rest of their life? No, no. And see, we know that without even you looking at any statistics. How do you know that stuff? People are stupid. Yeah, I love when you hold back, mate. I just want you to say it how it is. Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that doing this workshop. You know, what are you doing that for? And what are you smoking? You're stupid, mate. Next. So what happens is that we know that stuff. We know it at some level. And we've looked at the statistics in New South Wales, because I'll let you have a look if it's for a psychological evaluation, and 83% of lottery winners are broke within the first 5 years with a string of broken relationships behind them. Because if you're probably going to be wealthy, what would you be? If you're probably going to be broke, what would you be? And then in Australia, we have middle class. And that's what I said earlier, that there's nothing wrong in Australia. You're never going to starve to death. If you don't get all the stuff, you're going to be all right. So breaking out of that one's the one that we need to focus on. Because if you're broke and you're poor and you're starving, there's a problem in there. There's a problem in there. You need to do something about finding the feed or getting something so you've got shelter over your head. So you need to do that. Because while you were thinking about what to wear today and what car to drive, what was probably a lot of the population thinking? What are we going to eat? Now, I don't say that to make everyone feel bad. We should embrace the opportunities we have here, but we don't. So we need to embrace opportunities we have in this country. Now, if we look at happiness, now, do you know somebody who's pretty much happy most of the time? You just know if you run into them whenever they're going to be a delight to talk to. Who knows someone like that? Yeah, don't it shit you? I'm kidding. It's great. That's great. And do you know somebody who's pretty much always miserable? Oh, yeah. You just don't want to see him, do you? Especially if they're your mum. Oh, no, I'm kidding. My mum's great. If you're watching this, mum. No, my mum's fantastic, honestly. And they've made the decision today to be that way tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So we could say that person who's always happy is just naturally happy, or we can say they've got a program that just says no matter what's going on in their life, when they meet somebody or they come across somebody, they can just be cheerful, joyful, happy. They maybe have to dealing with stuff that's not pleasant, but they can decide to determine which way they're going to respond. Now, if we look at relationships, but we won't look at ours, hey, we'll look at somebody else's. And if we took, this is pretty delicate stuff, but it's a great example of, if we took Mary Smith, a victim of domestic violence, took her out of that environment as a means of saving her, and we say, look, we don't give her any of this training. We just say, behind that glass wall over there, there's 1,000 vulnerable men. In your opinion, who do you think she'll pick out? Maybe the same one. Now, does she want the same one? No, the 10% of her brain power going, oh, she want the good one. But 50, 60% of her total brain capacity, the radar's out because we transmit from the subconscious, that whole attraction thing from there, from our programming. Oh, there he is, biggest mongrel in the room. Now, we're not blaming anybody, but do you understand that example? Yeah, okay. So what's the result? So when you're standing over here, and you're looking at your gold, you can actually see your gold, and you know it's not far away, but you're just not sure how to get there. Who's ever felt confused about what's going on at that point? Yeah. And predominantly what can happen when people are confused, do you reckon they take action or they do nothing? If you're in a state of confusion, maybe it's like, well, if I don't know what to do, I'll do nothing. Predominantly that can happen. So what we're going to look at is breaking through that. So what should you do? Well, number one, you need to learn to be relaxed. So that's one skill. We're going to have a go at that in a second. Secondly, you need to find those programs that you have in your subconscious and deactivate them, because you no longer want them, do you? No. And then learn to reprogram yourself. So get rid of the ones that don't serve you anymore, and at the end of the day, we'll be spending time on that, and then we'll be looking at, well, what do you want then? Because if you ever empty your cupboard, get rid of the old stuff, does it stay empty or does it fill up? Better make sure we fill it up with the stuff you want and not more of the same. So we're going to have a look at that. Are you ready to have a go soon at the process where you learn to be 30 seconds or less and be relaxed? Yep, cool. All right, so before we do that, I just need to explain the process to you. So I'll explain the process to you, then you'll have a go at it, okay? Before we do that, I want to give you a demonstration about what happens with programming. So I need a volunteer. Yep, so do you want to come out the front for me? You didn't know you had to come out the front? All right, so, Annette, what I want you to imagine is that your goal's right here. Whatever it is you want's right here, and you're standing there. Now, I want you to put your hand out for me, and I'm going to pull you towards it, but I want you to resist with everything you got. And I want you to feel how that feels in your body when you do resist. Okay, so you ready? I'm going to pull you towards your goal. So your goal's here, goal's here. Okay, cool. Now, how did that feel when you're resisting? Stressful? Yep, we'll get you the mic. Yep. So how'd you feel?
Stressful, strenuous.
Strenuous, yep. So it wasn't good feeling?
No.
Yep. Does anybody notice that when they're going for their goal, they can have resistance to actually getting it? Yeah, so that's an example of it. Now what I want you to do is, I I just want you to now, this is your goal here, and I'm going to pull you towards, and I actually just want you to feel a bit of that tension, but then just easily move towards me, okay? So we're going to just go, all right, and how did that feel? So it was nice. Thanks, mate. It was nice. And so what happens is that one of the ways we lock our programming in is to go all stiff and rigid and say everything's okay. So we know our goals here, we know what we want, but we go all stiff and rigid and that locks it in. So maybe that's resisting a bit of information that someone's told you that could change your life. Maybe it's embarking on an activity that you know you need to do that will give you the results, but you resist it. Okay, you'll hear many, many reasons, and you'll catch yourself out now doing all these excuses. Who's ever caught themselves out making excuses? We're talented at making up some really elaborate stuff, aren't we? Yeah. So who can wash the dishes when you know you need to be doing something else? Yeah, high priority stuff like washing the dishes. So what I want you to get now is just stand up, and with a partner, I want you to experience that process. For the first time, you just got to resist. I want you to see how it feels to resist, keeping in mind that you need to be focused on a goal or target that you want. Ready, set, go. Funny enough, like sometimes it gets normal to want to resist. That's how you know yourself, and so that's why I give you that demonstration to say that it's sometimes easier to fight. Sometimes that's how you know yourself. That's what you do. You hang in there, knowing when to go with it and take that step forward is the thing we need to learn. So remember, going from relaxed to tense can be quite easy for most of us. Other way around is what we're going to learn.